Your long wait for a new Diablo 3 guide is over. I know, I missed you guys too. Here's what's going on today. We are here with a Demon Hunter guide. It's going to be something a little new, a little bit different. The way I'm going to go about the guide is a little bit different. I will explain why. But first, what are we doing today? We're doing Unhallowed Essence. I love this set. So, for those who don't know what it does, just real quick, generators will also give you 1 Discipline addition to Hatred, 20% damage reduction to you, and damage increase to your enemies for 4 seconds. If no enemies within 10 yards of you, you should have this up at almost pretty much 100% uptime. And 6-set bonus, which is awesome. Both your generators and multi-shot deal 15% increased damage for every point of discipline you have. That's right, 15% for every point. That means it's doing a lot more damage than usual. So, why is this guide going to be a little bit different? In the past, I've given you guys some, Greater Rift 50 plus guides. 50 is not, of course, oh wow, so super high, but it's high enough that you need some decent gear for it, and it's not, what your beginning players can be able to do. This is going to be a little bit less than that, and the reason for it is that more than almost, I think, any other build I have worked with so far, you need ancient gear to really push high. So why am I doing this guide if I don't have the ancient gear? Because I love this set, that's why. And I think it's an awesome way to get started with the Demon Hunter if you haven't already. It works 100% in non-seasons. None of the really important items are seasonal. So that's really cool. It's a really, really cool Demon Hunter set. It's a ton of fun to play, and it's something that I hope to push past 50. I hope to get some of the ancient gear that I need. So, what do we need? Let's go over piece by piece. Obviously, we need 6 pieces of the set. So, for your stats, I'm going to go over real quick on each piece. So, Dex, Vit, movement speed, multi-shot damage is important on the boots. On the pants, Dex, Vit, armor. You can play around with a bit with that if you don't want the armor, but pants are pretty flexible. Gloves, Dex, Vit, crit chance, crit damage. As you notice, my crit damage rolled low, non-ancient, kind of sucks, but hey, that's what I got. On the chest, I have Dex, Vit, all resist. Again, I'm really looking to give myself some toughness, and I'll go over why, because I'm making greedy choices later on. On the shoulders, Dex, Vit, all resist, resource cost reduction. On the helm, it actually should be, probably, Dex crit chance multi-shot damage if you want the most damage output. Unfortunately, the way mine rolled, that wasn't an option, but that's what you're going to be looking for. On the rings, we're going to be going focus and restraint. As you can see, mine sucks. I have Dex Vit crit damage. What you want is either Dex crit chance crit damage, or you can replace one of those stats with attack speed if you have enough of the other. So if you don't really need more crit chance, you have high crit chance already, you can go attack speed instead, something like that. On your bracers, you have 2 options. There is the new bracers that your generators will actually reduce the damage that you take for a few seconds, which is really cool. I don't have those, but I do have this, just ancient bracers that have 5 main stats, which is nice. 20% fire damage, because we are doing a fire build. Dex Vit, all resist crit chance. If you don't have the other one, something like this is a good way to go. Amulet, this is just a general thing. Just have Flavor of Time. Again, it has 4 primaries, so I have Dex, crit chance, crit damage. And a socket. The cooldown reduction really doesn't matter very much, to be honest, but that's what this has, so that's what I'm using. What you can use is either Dex crit chance crit damage socket, or fire damage crit chance crit damage socket. Those are really the big things you want. On your quiver, Dead Man's Legacy is incredible. The stats kind of do whatever you need to do. The big things are like Dex, attack speed, crit chance, and multi-shot damage. There are a million different things quivers can roll with, so don't worry about getting a perfect one. If your secondary has plus maximum discipline, that's really helpful, again, because you do get more damage on your multi-shot and generators for every point of discipline you have. The big thing here is the unique multi-shot hits enemies between, or below rather, between 50 to 60% health twice. So basically, once they get below that threshold, you're basically doing double damage to them, which is absolutely incredible. And the bow we want to be using is Young's Recurve. This has the unique property of multi-shot attacking 50% faster. It is a big attack speed increase. It means you're putting out damage a lot faster. It also gives a large amount of resource cost reduction, which is super helpful. There are a few different ways to roll this. Mine happens to have, damage percent, dexterity, resource cost reduction. You can play around with elite damage or area damage. Kind of depends on how yours rolls is the way that you'll go with it. The belt, there are two options. I'm currently going with Witching Hour because of the crit damage is really, really nice. The other option is Hunter's Wrath, in that your primary skills attack 30% faster and deal between 45 to 60% extra damage. And you can roll evasive fire damage on it. I'm going right now with the Witching Hour for the crit damage, but you can use either one. So, what do the skills look like now that we've done this? Obviously, the main thing here is going to be multi-shot. We're going to use Arsenal. That is the largest damage output. It is fire, which is what we're going with. So in addition to the normal multi-shot, you get 3 rockets, each deal 300% weapon damage as fire. Very nice. Obviously, we do need a generator for focus and restraint. We're going to go with evasive fire, focus. Wait a minute, why are we using a cold rune? I know, crazy! Well, 2 reasons. A, the fire rune sucks. And B, the cold rune actually gives us more hatred, which is really what we're using it for. While we do get a bonus to our generator damage, it still doesn't deal that much. So really just giving more hatred is better. It also removes the backflip off of Evasive Fire, which is awesome because that backflip is super annoying and it often will put you in a spot that you didn't plan to be in. So it sucks. So we like this a lot better. This right now I'm playing around with. I've actually played around with a few different things. Right now I am just trying this. It has a 90-second cooldown, which is really long. But for those tough fights when you fight, that big elite pack that you weren't ready for, just have, the awful affixes, or you just get in a pack of 8 million things you have to get out of, this gives you a lot more damage, plus it gives you more hatred generation, which means that you're able to just keep firing off those multi-shots. We are going to be using Wolf Companion. The passive doesn't really do much, but the active only has a 30-second cooldown and just gives us 30% increased damage for 10 seconds, which is awesome. Preparation Invigoration. This skill is funny because it can be activated and yet you never really need to. We're not using it for its active, we're using it for the passive Invigoration. Permanently increases maximum discipline by 15. Well, we get 15% increased damage for every point of discipline. That's 15 more points of discipline. That's a lot more damage. And then we're going to be going with Vault Trail of Cinders. There are 2 options for the Vault rune, except not really, but people think there are. A lot of people are seen using Tumble because it reduces the next one to 50%, so it allows you to, vault more with less discipline cost. However, I will get to why Trail of Cinders is straight up better in a minute, because we're going to go over the Kanai's Cube. Our passives are simple. Ballistics, increase damage of rockets by 100%, plus whenever we attack, we have a 20% chance to fire a rocket. Multi-shot uses rockets. Vengeance uses rockets. Good stuff. Just gives us a big damage increase to everything we're doing. Awareness is good, especially as you're trying to push higher rifts. You do risk dying a lot. This build, squishy, 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 squishy. So there is a very real chance you'll die. Positioning is very important, so you want to obviously try to not put yourself in a position to die. Sometimes you don't have a choice and you gotta die. So this helps you just get right back up. Ambush is really nice. It actually works incredibly well with Dead Man's Legacy. So when enemies are above 75% health, we deal 40% additional damage to them. When they drop below the threshold for Dead Man's Legacy, which is between was it 45 to 60%, or 50 to 60%, whatever it was, when they drop below that, then we're hitting them twice, which is basically 100% additional damage. So we're dealing additional damage to them when they're above 75%, and then even more additional damage when they drop below the threshold for Dead Man's Legacy. So really, really nice. And steady aim, as long as there's no enemies within 10 yards, all damage is increased by 20%. Well, with our set, we already want no enemies within 10 yards, so we're dealing additional damage. So this is just going to give us even more damage when there's no 10 yards. And 10 yards, by the way, is really small. Like, it basically means nothing is right on top of you. So that's really, really nice. The one thing I didn't go over real quick on the gear is gems. I've tried a few different things. I tried for a bit Bane of the Trapped with Caltrops instead of Vengeance to try to slow them down and then get that off. Bane of Trapped also works with Zai's rank 25 ability of 20% chance to stun. It really wasn't working enough. I tried Taiguk, but trying to keep up Taiguk stacks throughout the entire rift was super annoying and just It wasn't worth it, and I wasn't keeping them up enough. Just was not worth it. So right now I'm trying Molten Wildebeest Gizzard. Just for, you get a lot of life regen, so if you do get poked down, as long as you don't die, you can regen it quickly, and also we get a shield, which is nice. And also using Bane of the Powerful, just to get that increased damage against elites, and increased damage after we kill an elite pack. If you are in seasons, you can probably replace Bane of the Powerful with Bane of the Stricken. That would probably be fine. As far as Kanai's Cube, the weapon is going to be Calamity. Enemies you hit become marked for death. So anything we hit then takes increased damage. So that's really, really nice. The armor is Cinder Coat. Reduce the resource cost of fire skills by 30%, and that's why we're going with the Trail of Cinders rune on Vault. So our Vault does not actually cost 8 discipline. It's going to cost 30% less. So you're asking, well, what about Tumble Rune, which gives 50% resource cost reduction? Okay. So your first one is going to cost 8 if we're going with the Tumble Rune. Your second one then costs 4. That's 12. If you vault twice with Trail of Cinders, the math comes out, it's actually a fraction of a discipline point less. It's like 11.6, I think it came out to, when you vault twice with the Fire Rune because of Cinder Coat's resource cost reduction. So there's actually no time where this will cost more than using the Tumble Rune. So there's no reason not to do this. It actually costs slightly less, plus you get the little Trail of Fire, deal a little bit of extra damage. For the jewelry, you have 2 options. If you find yourself taking way too much damage and you can't deal with it, Unity is obviously an option along with your Templar, using another Unity ring so you get 50% damage reduction. If you love damage and are willing to risk dying for it, Convention of Elements is amazing. You get 200% increased damage for 4 seconds. When this thing, you get cold and then fire. When this is on, your damage is insane. It spikes so hard. So all the other elements don't really matter. Your cold will benefit your evasive fire a little bit, but again, it's not going to deal that much damage anyway. But when it hits fire, your damage just goes through the roof. Just sit there spamming multi-shot because you will just tear through everything. Last thing we're going to look at is Paragon points. As you notice, I am not, Paragon 800. I can't have everything maxed out. So what are our priorities? You want to get movement speed such that you have 25% base extra move speed. Everything else can go into dexterity. You could drop some in vid if you want. I certainly wouldn't recommend maximum hatred. In offense tree, crit chance and crit damage first, then attack speed, cooldown reduction last. The only thing I have on right now that really matters for cooldown reduction would be the Companion, but it's only 30 seconds anyway. And the Vengeance would be nice, but again, really not a big deal. So crits, then attack speed. As far as defense goes, all resist first, then armor, then life percent, life regen last. And on utility, it's going to be area damage and resource cost reduction, then life on hit, obviously gold find last. So that is the build. That is going to conclude the first part of this video. I'm going to do it as one full video instead of 2 like I've done in the last. I'm just going to segment the 2, and I'll probably put a timestamp in for those who are interested in one portion or the other. We will be doing gameplay next. Again, I do not have most of this Ancient. You want to push over 50, you probably need an Ancient Young's Recurve. But I am still going to give some gameplay. I'll probably do like a Rift 45. Again, not super high, not claiming that it is. I know it isn't. But it gives you an idea of what the playstyle looks like, and if you really do want to try to push for it, you know what you need to do it, and you can get a feel for what the gameplay is like, so you see if it's something you want to try to do. So I'm going to cut it off here. Again, I will timestamp it, so I'm going to segment it, so I'll see you all in a moment. And we are back. Let's do some gameplay here. I said 45. Let's do 46, because 45 is Torment 10, so let's just do one step above that, just to show what we can do here. So, you're going to get started. Basic thing, all of your damage is really coming from multi-shot, but you need to tag things real quick with your evasive fire just to get focus and restrain up. It also will give you, the calamity that we have cubed as well. Of course, multi-shot will do the same thing. So really, the playstyle is, I want to say stick and move. You always kind of want to be moving around, but you never want to be too close. Again, we need at least 10 yards for both our steady aim passive and the buff from the set. But with Zai's Stone of Vengeance, the further away we are, the more damage we have. So you really want to be as far away as possible. Again, you do want to keep weaving in the evasive fires, both for the sake of focus buff, on the Focus and Restraint set, and also to generate our hatred back, because if you just stand there spamming multi-shot, your hatred drops real quick. Again, ton of damage, but real quick. Alright, so here's a pack. I'm just going to go ahead and pop my Vengeance. And you can see like how much more comes out. The Waller is super annoying, by the way. So again, I just want to put as much distance between myself and enemies as possible, both for survivability reasons, and because the more distance there is, the more damage bonus I'm getting from Zystone and Vengeance. So yeah, that's really all there's to it. Again, the long cooldown on Vengeance does suck. It does mean like you probably won't have it up for every elite pack. Depends how long you go in between them. But it's really nice to have. I just wanted to pop it on the first one so you guys, kind of get a feel for what it's going to do, and you see the ridiculousness of all the extra stuff that comes out. It's really nice. I'm not sure if it's ideal just because of its incredibly long cooldown, and we have no way really of reducing that cooldown. Again, this build does not use a bunch of cooldown reduction because it generally doesn't need it. What we do have is our Wolf Companion. See, this is where things get annoying, is when things chase after you like this and they really want to close the gap. Alright, so I have fire in my Convention of Elements. I want to just multi-shot as much as possible and really take advantage of that. When you're using the Convention as your cubed jewelry spot, you really want to pay attention to it so you know when fire's up. Like now it's up, I'm just going to sit there, spam multi-shot, and he dies in half a second. Also, don't be afraid to use Vault to reposition. Like, it does take up a little bit of discipline, and yes, that does slightly reduce your damage output, but also keep in mind that your generator, your hatred generator, also generates a point of discipline. So you get it back super quickly. And the damage that you lose from losing a couple points of discipline, you're going to gain back because you're putting more distance between yourself and the enemies. Of course, tumbling forward here. So right now, I know I'm about to go to fire on my COE. So just, spam away. So yeah, the build is really just largely about positioning, weaving in your evasive fire through your multi-shot. Again, evasive fire does like no damage. Your multi-shot does a ton of damage. But you go through hatred very, very quickly with your multi-shot. So you still have to get the evasive fires in there. Both for your focus and restraint buff, and to make sure that you're not just running yourself out of hatred. So that's really the big thing. What I do recommend is the shift key, honestly, is really helped. That means you don't have to actually click on something to fire. You just fire away. And it's really helpful because you can kind of check for enemies. So you know when they're coming up. I'm just pop Vengeance here and my Wolf Companion and go to town. I'm trying to keep, at least 10 yards between us. It's not really working out, so I'm just going to go. I know I have fire right now, so I'm just going to spam away and just watch him melt. It's really quite nice. So the density on the first part of this rift was pretty terrible, which really, makes us not great on our time right now. We're okay. It's certainly workable. It looks like the density of this part of the rift is going to be a lot better. So as long as that's the case, we should be fine. I mean, I've cleared higher than this with this build, so don't think like, I'm saying, gee, I don't know if we can do it. We definitely can, but when you get rifts with very low density, it's just super lame, that's all. So we'll take a power pylon here, that huge damage increase. Makes us feel like we're stronger than we really are. It's beautiful. But yeah, that's really the playstyle, is trying to never be too close. As I've mentioned kind of in my past videos, I always have a habit of being too close, even with builds that I really shouldn't be. It's just a bad habit of mine. So yeah, don't do that. Really, like, there's some builds you can kind of get away with it. This build really benefits from being super far away from enemies. So you really want to do that as much as possible. This is really why I love the Convention of Elements. Unity definitely helps with survivability, and especially as you push higher greater rifts, higher than just like 46, obviously. The survivability is a big deal, but when you have the fire on your COE, like, the damage output just spikes so hard that I find it really difficult to kind of live with the idea of giving that up. Because it's such a huge difference in damage output that I don't want to give it up. Now again, I am still kind of in low greater rifts here, which you certainly have more flexibility to do what you want, you know, in just like mid 40s. It's not very high at all. You can just do whatever. But I don't know. When something's giving me that much damage, I find it hard to say no, thank you. I don't want that. Cause look, dead. It's a 200% damage increase. That is huge. So, also, if you are using the convention, what you want to do is learn that it comes right after cold. Kind of get used to the rotation, and not start spamming your multi-shot right before it's about to go to fire damage, because then you're not going to have the hatred to really take advantage of it. So again, it's on cold. I know its next one is fire, so there we go. Now I can let loose and just melt everything on my screen, and it's beautiful, and I love it. So I've been a fan of the Demon Hunter for a long time. I used to play the old Marauder set when M6 was the thing. The one thing I didn't love about that set was kind of how uninteractive it was. You just put sentries down and waited. Then they changed Marauder, so sentry only attacks when you do. And it was still viable, but it wasn't as overpowered as it was before. But what I always really enjoyed about the set, honestly, was just the visuals of multi-shot. Like, loved it. Just looked awesome. So now we get a multi-shot based build that is actually interactive. Pop my awareness there because I wasn't paying attention. And yeah, I'm a huge fan. I think it's one of the most visually pleasing builds in the game, just for me personally. So the conduit pylon is really funny with this build, because you don't want to you want to be close enough that conduit hits, but you still want enough distance between you and the enemies. That actually creates a really interesting dynamic. But yeah, so I really enjoy multi-shot just as a whole, and so this build, it makes me very happy. It's just, as I said, more so than some others that I've seen. I really feel like I absolutely have to have an ancient version of the weapon. So I'm working on that. Fortunately, in this patch in 2.3, you don't have to just find it or gamble a stupid amount of blood shards, which you should never do, by the way. Never gamble for weapons, it's awful. You can take a rare bow, in this case, or whatever the item type that you need is, and you can use Kanai's Cube to upgrade it into a legendary. Of course, what legendary that will be is, completely up to chance. But alright, so now I have fire. I'm just going to town to hit everything. So what's also awesome about this build, which I haven't spent a ton of time talking yet, is you have a lot of AoE damage, but you also have really good single target too. You actually get a lot of both, which is really cool. So you see with the fire CoE just how much damage it deal. So yeah, as I said, it's a stick and move, fire off your evasive fire, make sure that goes, so you're keeping it up, and then bam. There's my fire CoE with my Wolf Companion, bam, done. Easy. Easy peasy. So that's what the gameplay looks like. Again, I'm not, claiming that this is a high-level greater rift. It is not. That is not the purpose of this. The guide is to tell you what the correct build is, and now it's up to you to go out and get the gear. And I only recently started working on this build, but I was just super excited about it. I really, really like it. It's a lot of fun. So I wanted to show it to you guys so you know what it looks like. And in case you were wondering, well, what is Demon Hunter doing right now in patch 2.3? This build is a ton of fun. So again, I will say at the very least, you need an Ancient Yang's recurve bow to push 50 plus reliably. Without it, you can maybe get to around 50. I think is reasonable without an ancient one, particularly if you have some of the ancient pieces of armor, so you're just getting more dexterity from them. But you really want to push the higher, greater rifts. You are going to need an ancient one, but it is absolutely doable if you do have the right gear. So yeah, that's it. This is one of the most fun builds I have played with in a while. I'm probably going to see if I can get better gear for it. I'm really going to try to push for an ancient Young's recurve. If I do get to the point where it's really pushing higher, greater rifts, I might do a follow-up video. It'll be a shorter one. I might do a follow-up, but that'll be depending on if I get it. I'm also kind of working on some other characters at the same time, too, so I don't know for sure exactly if or when that'll happen. But if it does, I'll probably, just give you guys a follow-up so you can see what it looks like on higher level, greater rifts. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. If you're looking for a fun and effective Demon Hunter build, this is definitely a good one to go with. Yeah, so again, if there's anything in particular you guys would like to see for a future video, any style changes, I've tried a few different formats. If you like one format versus the other, definitely let me know in the comments. But until then, I will see you guys next time.